I literally am questioning why this movie was made because I don't think that it's going to give a good message to the people. Carson, when are you gonna get a bed frame? How many weeks has it been of us recording this podcast? And I understand that your house has been flooded and under. It's been like we've been doing this podcast a year, and I guarantee you that if I go back and double check the recordings, you've had no bed frame longer than you've had a bed frame while we've done this podcast.
When are you going to get some bitches?
So we don't have any news topics. Okay, to be fair though, you can't insult me when you're equally as single as I am.
Yeah, but I own up to it.
Oh,
I own up to it.
so do I. I'm
said
like
it
the
first,
proudest
so
single dude in the world.
now you're
I
just
don't give
following
a
my
shit.
lead. You're just
Women are
following in my footsteps.
disgusting and terrible and scary.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, that I never said that. That one's solely you.
dude's got some fat ass.
Tom Holland. All I'll say, Tom Holland. We all saw Chaos Walking. Just want to point that out.
Look, Tom Holland, if things don't work out with Zendaya, I'm always available. This has been a known fact. I will leave anyone anywhere at any point in time for my boy Tom Holland.
It's really not that necessary, but thank you for telling me that.
You're welcome. To be fair, you've known me for going on a decade now, I feel like. And I think 99% of that I've been obsessed with Tom Holland.
If it came down to saving me or Tom Holland's life, you would gladly give my life to save Tom Holland's. So let's be honest.
In reality, no, but I'd be ashamed to admit that maybe the thought would cross my mind.
I'm not going to be so kind. I would totally save Tom Holland's over yours. There's no news. There's no nothing.
Carson doesn't even care about Tom Holland all that much. He just wants to save Tom Holland so that I can die.
It's Tom Holland. Because here's the thing: you would gladly give your life for Tom Holland, but you would never want somebody else to give their life for you to be with Tom Holland. That's my logic.
To be fair, if you actually look, it's kind of like the trolley problem where you're like, would you kill one person or 5 people? Tom Holland's net benefit to society is like 1,000,000 times higher than I am. He's like generated like billions of dollars for the global economy. So like saving Tom Holland is the economic and logical choice. However, I do enjoy life. Every once in a while, I enjoy life. So depends on the day.
For the hour and a half to 2 hours that you get to spend every Saturday recording this podcast, which genuinely, yes.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. Absolutely.
Speaking of Tom Holland, his wife was in a movie that we're talking about this week. This is a weird cold open because we don't have a cold open. It's so weird.
Literally, the only thing that we were gonna talk about for the cold open was going to be the Supergirl trailer, but I didn't even want to see it. I saw the trailer forcefully. I could have covered my ears and closed my eyes, but I didn't want to look weird in the theater. That wasn't really the reason. I just gave up. But I saw the Supergirl trailer in theaters before the Mario movie. I wasn't even really planning on seeing it. Even after I saw the trailer, it literally just looks like because the only difference between this and the Woman of Tomorrow comic, at least from what we've seen in the trailer, is the existence of Lobo. And Lobo was supposed to be a part of the comic book originally anyway. He was supposed to team up with Supergirl as they go on their mission that I won't spoil if you haven't read the comic. But it just looks like the comic, which is great because the comic's amazing, but there's not that much to talk about, honestly. Even out of the second trailer, you get like 2 more seconds of Lobo, the same shots of Krypton, and now we know that, spoiler alert, Krypto has 3 days to live. That's really it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't really have a huge cold open unless we both missed some huge news, which
there is always, I mean, we could talk about WrestleMania, I guess. That's always fun.
You can talk about WrestleMania while I smile and nod. I have nothing to say, Mr. Twirly Evil Mustache.
What do you know about Randy Orton, Brandon? What do you know about Randy Orton?
I've heard the name because you've mentioned it.
Correct. Yeah, but no, we don't really have anything. And that's why I was trying to like cleverly segue away into you giving like the intro with like, speaking of Tom Holland, Zendaya's wife. Am I
You're
hosting?
hosting, by the way. I literally mentioned this before we started. We're on episode 57, and you can't check the calendar still. Good job. I even mentioned it. I said, "Hello, Carson. You're hosting this episode." That's like my first sentence to you when you joined the call.
Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
I hate you.
Oh, come on. Welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast in the world where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I am your host this evening, Carson, aka Juggernaut, here with my forever co-host,
Brandon, aka Parrotfish.
and today we're talking about a few topics, continuing our Invincible talk. We're talking about Mario, and then the surprise one, which we didn't know if we were going to talk about from last week, is the drama. We'll start with drama, we'll go to Invincible, and then we'll go to Super Mario. It's got to be said, we're going to say here now, especially for all of these, very much for all of these, spoilers for everything. There actually are this week a lot of things to talk about and a lot of things to dive into. With each and every one of these films, the drama has a lot of twists and turns. Invincible takes a massive turn for the worst. And then obviously with it being Mario, there's a lot of things that, we're going to get into. So if you haven't seen any of those things, click off now. Or if you don't care, welcome. Brandon, what's the word?
I'm good. It's been a week. I need to get my life together. I realize more and more every week. I just need to get my life together. So hopefully, starting next week, I'm saying it. The reason I'm saying this is because I want to say it on the podcast to hold myself accountable. I need to get my life together. I need to go to the gym. I need to work out. I need to eat better. I need to get my life together because these past few weeks, I've been coasting, and I need to stop coasting. But life hasn't been that bad. Like, it's not been bad. I just need to get it better. How are you doing? I
I'm
love the
tired.
shirt, by the way. I forgot to mention it.
It's great, isn't it? I got it for like $4 at Walmart. I was really proud of myself for it. It's got Patrick's star on it. It says St. Patrick's Day. This is my mood every day.
I'm going to surprise you, by the way. I'm going to tell you now because you're not going to remember. I'm going to go back, probably for like our 100th episode or something. I'm going to clip out every single "how are you doing," and I guarantee you that 99 out of 100 of those, your answer is "I'm tired." When will we get not sleep deprived Carson? That's what the people want to know.
It'll be on the 100th episode when I say, I'm so excited. I have no worries here.
To be fair, by the 100th episode, fingers crossed, we'll be in person. I'm not making any promises, but
hopefully by the 100th episode, there's a lot of things that are
yeah,
different.
a lot of things will hopefully be changed by then.
But yeah, let's talk the drama. This film came out this past week, stars Robert Pattinson, Zendaya. We both didn't know if we were going to talk about it on the podcast, so Brandon, go ahead.
Do you know, because this is an A24 film, but A24 does a bunch of different things. Do you know what other movies the director of this made? Because I don't, but I am kind of curious. The reason I ask is because I know you have the IMDb pulled up, because you almost always do.
Yeah, okay, I know one of them because I've seen one, but Dream Scenario, which came out in 2023, and then some of these I've never even seen
so
before.
kind of an unknown. Okay,
Dream Scenario is the only one, and I do remember when Dream Scenario came out. Yeah. Okay. But Brandon, yes, go ahead. Give me your first thoughts.
I need to compose myself.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Well, it's mainly because I know exactly what I want to say, but I need to make sure I say it properly, and you know why I want to make sure I say it properly.
Again, spoilers.
In the movie
I think we need to put out spoilers first, and I know I shouldn't be saying this now, but I'm going to say it now. This film is nothing like what it's promoting to be. So
I'm actually gonna put it up now. Trigger warning. I will be getting into some sensitive topics relating to this. Trigger warning.
Bad choice of words. Bad choice of words.
Yeah, honestly, it is. But yeah, I'm gonna just get into it.
Yeah.
The drama is one of the most concerning movies I've seen in a long time. I have no problem with movies covering sensitive subject matters. I actually love when movies cover sensitive subject matters, and I actually love when movies and comedians joke about subject matters that are very sensitive, especially when they're done tastefully, because I think it's important for us to have some levity in life and kind of make light of dark situations because it's unfortunate. There are realities that we have to go through, and we need something to pick us up. So I have no problem with that. Some of my favorite movies are super dark comedy movies or movies that cover subject matters that you would never expect to be covered in a comedy way. That is not my problem with this movie. My problem with this movie is the message that I think people are going to take away from this movie, and it genuinely concerns me. I don't know why this movie was made. It's not based on a true story. It's not based on any books or anything like that. It is an original screenplay. Why do you want your message to be forgive a school shooter? I genuinely am curious why someone in their mind thought that that was like a genuine story that needed to be told. Because it's not. School shootings, again, you can make jokes about them. There was movies earlier this year, Good Luck, Don't Die, Have Fun, make jokes about school shootings that were very funny and done tastefully. And I'm not saying the jokes in this are bad, but when your core message of the movie is forgive someone who almost mass murdered people, that's a problem. Now, I'm all about forgiveness. Actually, my problem isn't the full on forgiving part. It's that your main character doesn't have any remorse. Like, yes, she does, but she's not willing to talk about it. She is actively avoiding any situation to hold accountability. She snakes her way out of any situation. And at the end of the movie, you're supposed to feel bad for her. They make Rachel, who's the best friend of the husband, seem like the bad guy. She's, making fun, she's airing out dirty laundry, she's gossiping. She is the good guy. Like, again, I'm not saying that you can't be forgiven, but when you're clearly showing you have no interest, I mean, Rachel's comments about, like, what exactly would a psychopath do? She's gonna lie, she's gonna manipulate, she's gonna avoid. It's exactly what Emma is doing right here. And yet people online, and when I was leaving the theater, are dogging on Rachel and holding up Emma as being like, she should be forgiven, she's the good guy. These are both bad people. Like, they're not good. And again, I struggle with it because I'd love to forgive and forget, but when you clearly don't show any signs of trying to be better and own up and actually talk about the situation, that's a big problem. So I literally, this movie is extremely well acted. Robert Pattinson and Zendaya give amazing performances. The set pieces are amazing. The production is great. The soundtrack is great. It's a very well put together movie. And I actually enjoyed it for the most part. But at the end of the day, when I walked away, and admittedly, I try to avoid reviews, but I saw two glances when I was logging this movie that were like hating on Rachel. And I actively heard people when I was leaving the theater wondering why, like, oh, yes, celebrating Emma being forgiven and literally saying it's not that bad. She didn't do it. That's concerning to me and has me actively questioning, why is this a story you thought was worth being told? I actively am questioning that.
Um, this is hard because this is just a hard review to talk about because I think at this core, this movie is a you either love it or you hate it type film. There's no real in between, and it's because of the story it decides to push. Now, I didn't watch any of these trailers. I saw a snippet of it after I saw this movie. The trailer really doesn't promote what this movie's about at all. Like, it actively tries to hide it, which, first off, I actually kind of appreciate from the filmmaker's perspective because it does. Again, the whole point of the movie is that Charlie and Emma, it's their the week before their wedding, whatever. They're finalizing whatever they're finalizing. They're out drinking, celebrating with their friends, and obviously, it's promoting that that there's secrets between them. You're trying to figure it out. That is still the core of the movie. That's what you're on. You're watching Emma's journey going into her past, whatever, figuring out why this is a part of the movie and whatever. First off, a really interesting concept. I like the idea that the movie's about this two not really knowing these things about each other, and it's the whole moral dilemma of do we even go through with the wedding? Like, now that I know this thing about you, does this change anything? I think that, like you said, the acting is stellar. I would even go as far as say I think the writing is incredible too. Like, the writing is out of this world, really good. And I do think they at least approach the subject material they do approach it very well. That being said, I don't know really how I feel about the ending with this film, because on one hand, there is a truth to it. Yes, she didn't actually do it, and you understand the reason why she was going to do it. They show you all of that, and then they show you the journey as to why she didn't do it. But it's the thought. It's still the thought. You can, like, here's the, I'm not, I don't know how to feel, because I don't know whether I actually like the idea that she's forgiven because she didn't actually do it, and she found like a way through. People helped her through everything, but she never actually like talked about it with those people either. She never said that this is what she was going to do. Like, if they had done that in the movie, like, hey, I was thinking about doing this, I didn't, this saved me, whatever, that would be one thing. And I kind of get behind the forgiveness a bit more, but they didn't do that, so it just makes me feel like I don't know whether or not I like that or not. I will say the poster did kind of spoil that they were going to get married in the end, because they're in the wedding dress and the tux at the end. So I like the moral dilemma that the movie sets up, but I obviously knew they were going to get married because they have that on the actual friggin' poster. Again, we can start a back and forth on this, but like this is a very hard, touchy film to watch. If you're somebody who uh, genuinely wants to like sit and think about a movie, or think about like motivations of a character, or think about things that are happening in today's society and world, yeah, this is definitely the film to go watch, because this is dark material. Almost, and this is my biggest and first complaint, there was some comedy in this film. I may have gotten a chuckle out of me once or twice. I really wish that there was no comedy in this film.
See, okay, if we're starting the back and forth, I disagree. I actually, again, I like when we are able to joke about dark subject matter. That's not my problem with this movie. I do think there were a lot of jokes that me and my theater, granted, a lot of it was awkward laughter where you're like, ooh,
A lot
okay.
of awkward humor.
But at the same time, I personally feel like there were only, and I don't even remember them, so clearly they weren't that big of a deal, only one or two jokes, especially towards the end of the movie, that I was like, okay, don't do that. And
Well,
I
that's
problem was that was at the point in which they'd already were trying to redeem, and I was like, okay, we're something's like, you're making jokes about this, that okay, I thought you were gonna go a different path, you didn't go that path, and now you're joking about it. That seems a little less tasteful.
well, that's not my mind. That's not exactly where I was going with that. It was like I didn't think they were tasteful or not. Again, I don't care if jokes are in the movie, even in the biggest drama movies that I loved of the recent decade, like Marriage Story, for example. There's jokes in Marriage Story, but it's a hard topic. It's a family going through a divorce. It's Johansson and Driver actively. It's watching the split of this family break apart, and the struggle of that. There are still jokes within that, because you got to have a little humor. That being said, I feel like this film would have benefited a lot more from just a serious tone, and letting it be just a straightforward drama with little to no comedy. But like you said, I mean, it's awkward humor. It didn't really offend me by any stretch of the word. It didn't really offend me. It's just like, again, it's awkward. That's the best way to explain it. And I feel like you
Yeah.
could have gotten rid of it, and it would have been perfectly fine. And honestly, it would have kept your tone a little bit more impact. Um,
Yeah. Again, like I did find there were some laugh out loud jokes for me. There were. I did find quite a bit of this movie funny, but admittedly, some of that was when I thought they were going with a different direction with the movie. And I think I there is a path to redemption. There is. Like I work on the belief system that most things can be redeemed, or for not all. You touch a child, you're dead. But like most things, if you put in the effort and you put in the work, you can be forgiven. And
sure.
you can make the argument that with Emma's character, oh, she went and did or pro-gun control things. She actually tried to stop school shootings in protest for that. But she didn't really want to. That was something that she stumbled into. That wasn't an active action that she took. That was a whoops, now I'm anti-gun. And she only did that out of selfishness. She didn't do that to try and make herself a better person. She did that to make herself feel better and to maybe make up for what she did, but in a selfish way. It wasn't because she actively wanted to be a better person. It was because she actively didn't want people to find out and think she was a bad person, which is not a good path to redemption.
Well, and let me ask this. I'm not defending her. I'm just thinking, about, how human beings kind of operate. And I want you to think about this character in particular. This character who has nothing. Again, was planning the whole shooting because she had nobody guiding her. Do you think that a character like that is going to have some emotional support system to come in and kind of have that intervention or have that talk or be there to support them at all? No, if they have nobody, they don't. The only way you can find yourself in a situation is when you stumble into it. So yeah, it's selfish. Yeah, it's this. But it honestly is the right character move in that regard, because that's exactly how you would get there. Nobody's just going to come up to you. I guess technically he did. The what's his name? What's the friend? Not the friend's name, but the guy, the
The
kid's
husband,
name.
Charlie?
No, not Charlie. The kid who invites her to the uh
Oh, I don't even know if he was named, but I know what you're talking about.
that if that kid, I technically he came up to her because he heard what she was saying. So I guess technically that's it's stumbling into it, but there was that guiding hand of like, hey, come join us in this. You got like some knowledge about this. Maybe you could do some good. I guess that's the hand extending there. But like, if for the character they're setting up, it is the right thing to have her stumble into it, because there's no reason that she should have anybody to
So
support her or talk her out of it. I guess. Again, I'm
I
not
have
defending the actions, but that's
I,
just
I understand where you're coming from. And I understand the mindset. I do, but I'm going to counter it with 2 points.
it's fine.
One is kind of weaker than the other. So it's a weak point, but I will bring it up. Her dad didn't seem like a bad person. Yes, he had guns in the house, but my family has guns in the house. Many families have guns in the house. He doesn't seem like he was a bad guy. He seemed like her family, from the little bit that we got, seemed like they were like relatively involved. They talked about acting and showing up for her acting performances and her characters and performances. Now, granted, her family maybe should have realized that something was wrong earlier. That is a fault of the family, but it's not like she was abused and had no one at all. She did have a family that seemed to generally care to a degree. Again, it's a weaker argument just because we don't know enough.
Yeah.
So I can understand being like, oh, well, we don't know. So, like, yeah, that's totally fine. My counter to that is, okay, cool. She has taken the first step to redemption. Someone reached out. Someone said, hey, I am like, not even knowingly, but like, hey, I'm gonna reach out this hand, help me stop gun control, not even knowing what she's been through. And then she gets more involved into it and she becomes an activist. That's very cool. She has taken that first step into redemption. Not telling the person you're going to marry about something to this degree, and then specifically avoiding at all costs talking about it, vomiting whenever it brings up, actively running away from the conversation, interrupting him, and questioning why he would have a problem with this. That shows no growth to me. That like actively is a problem. Maybe you can make the argument that she's changed and she shouldn't like she didn't need to tell him. Maybe this is just who I am as a person. I would want to know that kind of thing if I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. That can be a discussion, though. It needs to be a conversation. And she actively avoided every chance of discussion and pushed Charlie away and only distracted him with talking about the wedding or talking about something else or saying, why do you have a problem with this? Questioning why he can't get a boner because, whoa, why are you thinking about this right now? Because it's the biggest thing in the goddamn world. The person he was just about to marry almost was a mass murderer.
Yeah.
That is a huge deal, and you need to talk about it. And if she was just willing to talk about it and have an active, long dialogue, and he was able to come to an educated decision and was understanding that this would be a bad thing to find out drunkenly slipping up at a party in front of his best friend, not like in a private, like, setting, like, but in front of other people, and then questioning why it's a big deal, that is a huge problem. That is a huge problem. And it is
Well,
actually a bad lesson when I see people online being like, oh, Rachel's. I literally saw this. Someone said Rachel is an example of what the problem with America is right now. And they're insinuating that she's nosy. No, she's correct. Rachel is one of the most correct characters in this. She has a family member who's in a wheelchair from a mass shooting. I don't give a shit that Emma didn't go through with it. I don't. She's not willing to own up or talk about it at all. That is a problem. And Rachel's point about that is what psychopaths do is correct.
again, it's the this is why it's a hard film to talk about, because you could look at this from different perspectives. There are going to be people looking at this from the perspective of, you're not defined by your past. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong. I don't think some people should be defined by their past if they're actively changing or they have changed. And again, we saw the until, she wasn't willing to talk about it with Charlie. We saw the growth of Emma by, turning in this group, being pro. I almost said pro gun violence, pro gun safety.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anti-gun violence.
and thank you, anti gun violence. We saw that change. We saw that growth, and we saw all she did. And so, again, the only thing I can think of in my mind, I'm not saying none of these are really strong points, because this is what's so hard about it, is you could say a bunch of things about this. There's not really a right answer. Nobody's really right in this. Sure,
Hard disagree, but
it depends on how you look at it. Because, like, when you look at the initial table, the four people drinking, Charlie's best friend, and all of them just sitting around drinking, have a good time. They're playing the game of, all right, share something you haven't told anybody before. All of their stuff is excruciatingly horrible. Now, I'm actually going to ask if you can remember. I remember Charlie's. Charlie's was the cyberbullying, where he basically bullied a kid so bad that they moved away, or so he thinks. We don't actually know. There's a good chance that something more happened to that. That's still pretty bad. But those are things that those are things that he actually did.
School shooting.
But I will say, this is the difference. Not only did he actually do it, but he at least owned up to it.
Yes, exactly.
Like, I did do these things. And that also could have been the simple conversation that Charlie and Emma could have had initially. And obviously, the film wouldn't have happened if you had this conversation. But if she had just talked to Charlie and been like, yeah, I thought about this at one point. I'm not that person anymore. Again, that is a conversation that could carry your movie forward. You still could have, like, had the whole, Charlie could have been woozy about the whole situation, about the whole marriage, all of it, because she still said it. But at least it gives Emma the out of, like, I'm not that person anymore. I did take the time to talk to you about this. And then the rest of the movie is him deciding, do I actually want to marry this person who did this? And then we can see into the past. We can see the growth. We can see the change. Like, there are some ways you could have written this that would have made it less
concerning.
I wouldn't even say it's concerning. For me, it's just so... confusing, but not in the same way that you're... Or concerning. You say concerning, I say confusing. Because I don't know who, objectively, I want to root for. I don't know what kind of ending I want from this movie. And so when I get it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's an ending. I don't know if that's the ending I want, though.
I guess it's just because I'm pretty defined in my morality. Like, I know where my morals lie. That's something that I hold pretty, like, dear to myself, is my morals. And, like, So we'll bring it up because you were talking about what the other people did at the table. Rachel actively locked someone in a closet and abandoned them. That is terrible.
Yeah,
And
okay,
then she says she would have said something if it came up, but she like actively left him there overnight to the point in which they sent out a search party and still didn't say anything. That is horrible because she actually did that. And that is a terrifying, terrible thing. And yes, she did try and defend herself later on at the wedding when I believe it was at the wedding or it was the conversation in the conference room when they brought it up to her. And she's like, yeah, it was one person. He wasn't mentally disabled because that was one thing that was a big talking point. And there is kind of a duality there. We're like, yes, Rachel did a terrible thing. Absolutely. And she didn't fully own up to it because she did semi-defend herself in a way. I understand that. But, and this is where, yes, I understand it gets to more complexity. Mass shooting versus one person getting locked in a closet that ultimately lived is two very different things. And I also think it depends on the degree. Now, if Emma had just thought about a mass shooting and even bought a gun, very concerning, very concerning. But she actively admitted to bringing the gun to school, and she filmed manifestos actively calling out the people that she wanted to die first. We're not talking about someone who had intrusive thoughts. There's a big difference between Emma had intrusive thoughts and was really depressed and had a really hard time, and acquiring a firearm, listing people out in a manifesto, bringing a gun to school, and only not going through with it. Only not going through with it. Admittedly, she admitted it because someone else did it first and it would have taken the wind out of her sails. That is the literal reason that they list in there. Now, yes, she shows change afterwards, but not to the degree of someone who was literally minutes away from massacring children.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking up how old Robert Pattinson is now. Just because that
I'd say probably
30, he's 39. That
okay,
I don't know why that crossed my mind. I was trying to remember how old he was. I couldn't even remember. Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard.
Because,
it is
like,
so
again,
hard.
the acting is very good, and I actually agree with you. I think I wouldn't say the writing, just because I don't love the direction the story goes, but I guess that's a difference between the story and the writing. I don't know.
That's
The
the screenplay.
dialogue,
Yeah.
the dialogue is very good in certain moments, certain conversations, certain monologues, very, very strong. There are some very funny moments. I think the movie looks good. I think the movie is very well shot. It is a very well put together movie from a production standpoint. So from that degree, I was impressed. I just walk away, and this is, I guess, a terrible way to review a movie, but at the same time, not. I walked away slightly higher on the movie than I am now, mainly because of the like, it wasn't even just I read reviews. I literally glanced at two on accident, and the only lines I saw were people hating on Rachel. That was one sentence that I saw. And someone, as I'm walking out of the theater, talking about how it, like, what Emma did wasn't that bad because she didn't actually go through with it. Those are the conversations that concern me, and that is the fault of the movie, because even you yourself were like, I don't know how this movie, like, I don't know how I feel about the ending, because clearly they're trying to redeem and move on. And, like, yeah, Robert Pattinson cheated. And, like, you can make the same argument of, oh, well, she brought the gun to school, but she didn't actually do the shooting, so therefore she wasn't a shooter, and he only kissed her, but he didn't fuck her, so clearly he didn't fully cheat. They're both messed up people who end up together.
Right.
But
well, and if we
technically
really
is not Charlie's fault entirely. Like, I'm not defending cheating. I literally am the most anti-cheating person in the world. I think you cheat in any capacity, you're fucking out of there. But also, his fiance wasn't trying to do anything to help him at all in this situation. It's not a defense. It's just I can more logically see his train of thought, even if I don't agree with it. Then I can see Emma's thought in, oh, he's still gonna love me and want to marry me after I'm actively trying to not have a conversation about one of the worst things that I possibly could have done in my entire life.
well, and here's the truth. and this is the last thing I'll say on this movie and on this topic. And, you know, just because this is such a touchy movie and a touchy subject, I'll go ahead and open this can of worms because I'm open about this. And I know you are too, but I'm the one who's going to open this. I'm a believer. I believe that Jesus Christ is, you know, our one true king, our savior. That is how we are redeemed, is through him. That we acknowledge that he is the Son of God, that he came to this planet and he was nailed to the cross, nailed onto the stupid tree in front of all to redeem us of our sins. Obviously, this movie is not taking that Christian approach at all, so it doesn't even touch over that. But really, if this movie wanted to, which really all movies could, all of them really could when it comes to a redemption story. And redeeming, you can be redeemed in different ways. When we talk about redemption, and we're talking about this and that, there is only one thing that matters when it comes to redemption, and that's our redemption through Jesus Christ. And that's it. And so when you have a film and we talk about like, oh, she's redeeming herself, you know, by doing this and doing this, that's great. But those are things of this world. And those things aren't going to last because this world isn't going to last. We're not going to last unless we, you know, accept that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. That's me getting very preachy on you for whatever reason on the podcast. And I'm just touching on that because that's kind of like where when I deal with a topic like this and we talk about redemption, that's kind of the first thing where my mind goes. I just didn't really want to talk about it until like the last possible second if I was going to say anything.
Well, and I think it's a fair thing because, again, like, this movie doesn't touch on religion at all because that's not a core theme of this movie. But there is a difference between redemption in the eyes of man and redemption in the eyes of God. God is way more forgiving and redeeming than humans are. That's just his nature. That's literally, he is the most forgiving. Humans are not. And I guess, I mean, I have a hard time forgiving certain things. I'm not God. I'm not claiming to be God. I don't expect to be as forgiving as God is. That's God's job to forgive you in your soul and determine where you end up. That's not my job. And so, yes, we want to live like God and we want to live through the eyes of God. But, like, in my eyes, if you're not, like, she's not even, here's the thing. If she's not even willing to be redeemed in the eyes of man at all, like, she's not even willing to take any steps to be redeemed in the eyes of man, how would she expect to be redeemed in the eyes of God? Like, that's it's again, it's not something the movie touched on, but
it's an interesting conversation piece though. But it's an interesting conversation piece though. Again, just as a believer, that it's those thoughts that are just in my head whenever I watch a movie like this because it's just always constantly there for me. But again, overall, I mean, like, good acting. Writing from a dialogue standpoint was really good. Again, story is just very touchy. So, but it does make it clearly, because it's making a bunch of our people of society think about it. It makes you think. Of all the films this year, this is the one that's made me think the most.
I can agree that it's made me think the most. I just don't like the direction I've seen other people thinking about this movie. And I'm not going to sit here and say I know all and I'm going to control the way you think. But I think from an objective morality standpoint, there is a decision or a conclusion that can pretty easily be made. And I don't see a lot of people making that. And that's why, like, I walk away. This is not my least favorite movie of the year because I think The Bride actually... Like, the problem is, The Bride and this movie are very, very similar in a way where I feel like The Bride is very good from an acting perspective. It's actually better in an acting perspective. I still think Christian Bale's performance in The Bride is my favorite performance of the year. It's very good from a cinematography perspective and a production standpoint. This movie is also very good from an acting perspective, from a cinematography perspective, from a production standpoint. They both just fail in their stories to a degree that's very difficult for me. Both in different ways, obviously, but both trying to handle touchy subject matters and, in my opinion, failing at them.
Again, this is the type of film, and I even said this about The Bride. As much as it is my least favorite movie of the year, probably this one, I don't know, I still got to think about it. But with The
I would
Bride
rather
being,
tell you to watch The Bride than this movie. That's my thing. And
oh,
that's what makes me lean on this, because my thing is I literally am questioning why this movie was made, because I don't think that it's going to give a good message to the people. And I'm not saying every movie needs. Marty Supreme didn't give a good message to the people.
well,
It
sometimes the
didn't.
movie, and we also do forget this in a society today that's all about pushing agendas or pushing various different, messages. Your movie doesn't have to push a message. Your movie can just be about a journey from start to finish. It can just be about a simple story, that's creative and fun and uplifting. It doesn't have to have that message. Is it nice when you get one there? Sure, because it adds something, a nice little flavor to it that on the back end you can really delve into and think about, but you don't need it necessarily.
Well, I disagree. Well, I agree and disagree, because we're going to talk about a movie later that falls into one of those camps. But
Yeah.
I think the difference is I love movies that make me think. Long Walk is one of my favorite movies of all time now, because it made me think so much. And I literally think about this movie at least weekly, if not daily, sometimes with The Long Walk. Like actively thinking and processing and continuing to dissect things within that movie. And it covers very difficult subject matters. This movie
Sure.
is going to make me think for a long time, but it's not going to
Sure.
make me think in a constructive way, I guess. And I don't think
Right.
it's going to make a lot of people think in a constructive way. And that's why I think I don't want to say this movie is dangerous, because I think that is taking it a step too far. But with how many people were concerned over a movie like Joker, when that movie came out, there were literally people ranting and raving about how this is the worst movie ever. I view the core message of this movie worse than the core message of the Joker, because that was just a psychopath going on a tirade. This is like actively taking a real world problem and in kind of doing something with it that I don't love.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people aren't going to love. I've spoken to actually one other person in the Escape Pod Discord, actually, funny enough, about this movie, and he didn't have a problem with it. I think that's fine, but at the same time, it's a very, very hard, touchy subject matter that I think a lot of people are going to have a problem with, which is why I can't recommend that 99% of moviegoers see this. This is not a movie that I'm like, there were. This is the other problem with the message, like the marketing of this movie. This will be the last thing I say on this. You're 100% right that the marketing of this movie did not tell you what this movie was about. And I think that's a problem, because I understand that you want to save the big reveal of the core drama of this movie until the end. Make it a big reveal. I was shocked when that was what was revealed to be the core message of this movie. There were a lot of couples in the theater that I went to go see this at that were very clearly expecting a dramatic slice of life romance movie. Very clearly. There were like, most of my theater was couples.
This has nothing to do with
This
that.
is not going to be that at all. When you advertise a romance drama piece with Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, two of the biggest actors of our generation, and advertise it as, yes, it is a drama. It's literally called The Drama. But when the drama is school shootings, I think you dabble on that a little bit to warn people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Trigger warning it at the beginning. I don't know. Like,
Again, very poor choice of words. Very poor choice of words when you say trigger warning. That being said, let's move on. Let's talk about something that we actually, I think, both probably enjoyed a little bit more this week, which is Invincible Season 4, Episode 5. What is this episode called again? This is called Give Us a Moment, is what it's called. Go ahead and give me your fresh thoughts on that, Brandon.
Invincible Season 4, Episode 5 is by far the best episode of the season. Without question, it is a very strong episode. From a storytelling perspective, I think it's great. From an action perspective, I think it's great. The Conquest versus Mark fight was hard to watch and very well animated. I was at the edge of my seat the entire time. I think there was a lot of strong elements with this. That being said, and I'm gonna get some hate for saying this, I know I am, the animation bothered me in this episode more than I feel like it has in other episodes. There were some scenes that were just still frames. And I understand that some of those still frames when they were floating in space and they were talking telepathically, so their mouths don't need to move. but it was like front and center still frames. And the Omni-Man and Debbie thing, while I understand it doesn't need to be the best animated thing of all time, it felt flat, and yes, to me, did kind of take away from some of the emotion of it because it didn't look amazing. I think the comic book art looks better than the animation, and that does take it out for me, because especially since they are very, very clearly saving the budget for the Conquest versus Mark fight, which was one of the best animated fights we've gotten in Invincible. It looked actually incredible. There were certain still frames and shots in that I was blown away by. The effects were amazing, the particles were amazing. It was genuinely fantastic. However, I'd rather that be a little down and everything else be a little consistently higher, or, food for thought here, maybe wait even a year and a half in between seasons, or 2 years between seasons, so that we can make this show better, because I understand that animation is not the most important thing for everyone, but people hated on One Punch Man this past season because of how bad the animation was, and I'm not saying this is anywhere near as bad, but it's not that much better at points in time, and people who are not willing to see that or admit it are blind. Because actively, especially during that Debbie versus Nolan thing, the emotion was there, the storytelling was there, the writing was there, but the animation was so still, and especially when she was punching and things like that, that I don't know. I want Invincible to be better, and I hate that that's the biggest thing that I'm talking about in a really strong episode. But it is something that unfortunately was front and center for me, when otherwise it was a great episode. And it was the best episode of the season by a country mile.
I don't know by a country mile. I did like episode 2 a lot. That was Nolan and Alan going to different planets, recruiting different things. I thought that was a pretty good episode. I even thought episode 3 was really, really okay. Again, there wasn't a bad episode this season. The worst one was by far last episode 4. And that was just because it meandered and it didn't do anything for the story at all. Like nothing at all pertained to the story that they were telling. So there was no reason that I don't have anything against the other episodes. They are still pretty good for the most part. This episode is just better because it actually is progressing the story much further, and you actually can kind of see where they're going towards the end of the season. I'm really sad Conquest is dead, because I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And I like him a lot as that character. It's really tragic. That being said, my God, I was actively in my seat grabbing my chest when he rams his arm through Mark and he's just pulling out his organ. Like that hurt me more. It wasn't that he slammed through it. It's the fact that he kept slowly going back in and just ripping it out. And went, stop.
Conquest
just stop.
invented organs to rip out of Mark. I'm just going to say, the body does not have that many organs in it, but my man was reaching into a portal to rip new organs that don't exist out of Mark.
He was reaching into the Mary Poppins bag of never-endingness and just going, oh, look at it. It's like a weird magic trick. Like, it's still coming. Look at this.
Yep. It literally is that clown trick of the never-ending handkerchief, but with Mark's guts.
Well, and it also makes me sit there and go, how the heck is Mark alive? How the heck is he alive? I mean, it's crazy.
Built-in DNA go burr.
But again, I actually do again, the animation quality is a little weaker. Yes, I agree with you. It's certainly not bad by any means. It's just not as good as it could be. I think we were like a broken record when we say that with Invincible. There wasn't anything that overly bothered me, but there were a few shots I was like, oh, okay, this is clearly, they're just not giving the animators enough time to animate what they need. And most notably for me, it was during the Debbie Omni-Man scene, because I love the scene itself. Like, if I close my eyes and I listen to that scene, great, perfect, almost 10 out of 10 scene. It would have been great. My favorite scene in this entire episode, though, and you probably are going to be surprised when I say it, funny enough, was actually the Nolan art scene. Because
thank you. I literally was going to say that. I actually 100% deadass. Literally the best scene in the episode, hands down. I'm so glad you agree with me.
It completely shows a different side that's of somebody who's not technically Nolan's family, was a friend on this planet. It shows the whole dude, you messed up everybody. You messed up the one guy who you really didn't think you could mess up. You split a beer with this guy. You sat in the roof and talked for God knows how long. Maybe it was a couple hours. I don't even know how long. But like everybody's normal. Everybody's acting okay. The second he leaves, Art goes back to just like, oh my God, I could have died. I mean, it is incredible, and I love the idea. I love the line when Mark Hamill is what I was trying to get at. Art, when Art looks at him, he's like, "Well, I can't really improve your suit, bud. I only do that for heroes." And Omni-Man's no longer a hero as much as he wants to try to be, and as much as he wants to change. I don't know. They're setting up really interesting things with Omni-Man. This is definitely going to be at the end of the season. This is going to be a big Omni-Man season because they've done a lot for that character, and I kind of love it. I can kind of start to see the pieces of they're going to do stuff with Nolan and Oliver, which could be really good. But obviously, I can't blame the season for that. They just didn't have an opportunity to even start that plot line until this episode. But yeah, all in all, pretty good episode. Animation quality a little low. I'm just picturing Mark's organs being ripped out slowly now.
That was
Dude,
rough.
I felt the pain because it was so disturbing. I couldn't not just like feel it. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah. It was rough. Again, it sounds like a stupid complaint, but he ripped out a lot of organs. He really did. He really did. It was a lot.
I think that the one thing, and this isn't the complaint about the episode, I didn't get it at first. I thought that when the engine was shutting down or the ship was getting blown up or attacked or whatever by the Viltrumites, I didn't realize it was the Viltrumites at first. I thought it was Oliver attacking Nolan is what I thought it was initially. Purely because they were the only two not in there. Mark even made the comment of like, well, we can't get rid of the ship. My dad and brother are still back there. I completely thought it was Oliver trying to like absolutely beat the crap out of Nolan.
Yeah.
And then obviously when you see Conquest, you'll be like, oh, nope, not that at all. Nowhere near that.
I mean, that's still of Conquest to like dunking on Oliver did kind of go crazy.
It was funny.
I will say, hate me all you want, internet, for saying this. The sun was not there at all when Conquest showed up. The sun was there just to make that scene look better. It looked epic, but my man brought the sun. Like, go back and watch the scene back. There's no light behind him. He shows up to dunk on Oliver, and it's like the sun is 2 feet behind him, glancing on the back of him.
It is really funny. That's one of the things.
It's a stupid thing to say, but it is like okay, guys, come on.
Dude, Conquest is also just like, this is also why I'm sad that he's gone, is because they made a big deal about him being released immediately. And yeah, it took a second for him to get beaten. Like Mark actively had to go to that place to kill him, and just like, no matter what the pain, I just gotta like kill him by choking him out, which is fine.
So you think he's actually dead? Like you do?
I think Conquest is dead. I think that was the whole point of what it was. I think Conquest is dead.
Because I don't necessarily disagree with you on that, but I'm also like, I don't know, because we literally saw Conquest get like eviscerated by Mark and then come back like nothing happened. But there is a difference between that and turning blue in the face and going unconscious. Like, I don't know.
I mean, he could just be knocked out, but then again, what are they going to do with him? Like, they're just going to like let him go, get back on the ship, and keep going. Like, they're still fighting the Viltrums on that ship. Like, not all of them died.
That's fair. We do still have Thrag as well. Like, it's not like we need Conquest to be the main villain. We have
no.
We
don't need him.
Probably stronger than Conquest, scarily enough. Yeah. I mean, he's the leader of Viltrum, and Viltrumites pick their leader based off the strongest. And the fact that, like, granted, Conquest isn't the leader because also he's kind of a loose cannon and crazy and not even loved by his own people. That was
that was the whole thing of the third season, is that I do this because I'm not really loved by people. I don't know what his reason was, but
I will say that was actually a funny line when Mark and Conquest are in space, and Mark goes, "Come on, man! I thought we were making progress. What happened to that whole dialogue we had earlier?" And he's like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was essentially like that was in confidence or something like that.
That
And I
was
was
in
like, okay,
confidence.
that was actually really funny. Like that was genuinely a really funny line.
Uh,
That got me chuckling.
the second that he said, it was like, yeah, I can't wait to go back to Earth and taste your little girlfriend's bloody. And I went, nope, kill him right
Yep.
now. He is actually the worst. Just kill him. And what honestly makes this war scary, and we kind of knew this again already going into this season, but with Eve being pregnant and her powers not working all that well right now, it makes it really difficult to win this war because she was the only one actually able to like do anything to conquest. And that was something that was even mentioned in this episode. Hey, Mark, you didn't stop me. Your little girlfriend did.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
Now,
it's just
granted,
like,
seemingly stopped him, but no, I agree with you. Without Eve in this war, that's a problem. And I have two different things to talk about with the same character. I'm
fine,
gonna
go ahead.
bring up the first one first, and then the second one second, or
Okay.
maybe it'll just naturally talk about through the dialogue. But how do you feel about the romance that they're setting up between Tech Jacket and Oliver? Very clear
Oh,
romance. Very
she's going to die at some point, and that's going to fuel Oliver to do something stupid. I'm calling that now. I'm okay with
yeah.
it. I like the idea, but that they're clearly setting her up to be somebody that gets fridged later just for Oliver to go like absolutely insane.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with you on that. I don't think she's making it out. And that kind of goes into my problem with her character. She is listed, or Tech Jacket specifically as a character, is listed as being one of the people that can take down a Viltrumite.
Right.
That is not showcased at all here. Like, at all. She actively seems pretty weak. She struggled to take down the villain in the beginning, and the only reason she was do anything was because her armor was self-healing. But it like was a struggle to take down a regular villain that was absorbing electricity. And no offense to Check Jacket, she like actively was useless in the fight against three Viltrumites in space. Why is she here? It feels like she was like either significantly depowered or she's not using her power enough or something. But when Tech Jacket is like one of the very few characters or technologies or what have you that is listed as being able to take down a Viltrumite, and you're actively showing her just constantly getting her ass whooped, I literally was sitting there going, why is she here? She's not
What
literally anything.
what is Tech Jacket's first name?
I have no idea. I just know it's Tech Jacket. And also, it's gender swapped from the comic. It's a guy and
Yes.
the girl in here, but I don't know the actual name of the person in the suit.
Name.
What do
Because
you
I'm
need
trying
the
to figure
name
out.
for? What does that matter?
I'm trying to figure out which actress is playing her. Zoe.
Oh.
Zoe. Okay. So it's it. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's Zoe Dutch. I don't know if you've ever seen Zoe Dutch in anything before.
I've heard the name. I've heard the name.
That's what I thought. It sounded familiar because like there were a few people in this episode when they came up. I was like, oh, I know who that is. Like I knew. We talked about a few weeks ago, but obviously when Peter Cullen's voice came in, we're like, oh, that's Optimus Prime, 100%. And Zoe Dutch was another one when she came in. I was like, that's somebody, I can't put my name on it. And now I'm looking through this list. I was like, is it Tatiana Maslany? No, it's not. That's somebody else. So I was like all over the place trying to figure out who it was. Zoe Dutch, that's who it is. Yeah, they're bringing her up in the world just to fridge her later on, which is fine.
I just think it's like, why list her as one of the people that can take down Viltrumite and recruit her into a space war where she could actively and very easily die if she's struggling to take down an Earth villain and was literally useless against the Viltrumites? Like, I get it. Her armor is self-healing and intelligent, but also at the same time, a Viltrumite can stab you through the gut and rip your organs out. So,
yeah.
and again, Conquest is one of the strongest Viltrumites. He's not even the strongest Viltrumite. We're facing not the strongest Viltrumites right here, and she did nothing but run.
Yeah. And it's, again, as the story will play out, as we get further down the rabbit hole, as we continue to do more this season and the following seasons, leading to the inevitable big war with Thrag. I think that at the end of the day, the story they're trying to tell is they're putting these people together. They don't even know if that's enough to stop them. They're just putting people together who could, and she could be one of them. They have no idea if she's actually going to work or not, but they're putting people together just because they're hoping. Um, this is a complaint that I'm going to have later on this season. I just want to say it now because I was thinking about it a lot. 2 episodes ago, and I get that it was only 2 episodes ago, we had the big thing of Rex and Monster Girl going into the other dimension.
Yep.
And we've done nothing with that.
It was mentioned by Eve when they were in bed right before Mark left, and then they were both kind of like they can fend for themselves. Do you know that?
Are you
because
really just
you
going to leave?
struggled to take them down when they were on Earth, and the only reason you were able to take the aliens down on Earth was because they have a weakness of aging in Earth. They don't have that on their home planet.
Yep. So I just want to point that out as we get further along. If this doesn't get resolved, I'm going to be a little disappointed because I'm great. You set it up. Why set it up if you're not going to pay it off this season?
They could have done that instead of the Damien Darkblood story, honestly.
I think that would have been better. I think that would have been. I know you were trying to set up Satan to be a big threat eventually, but he's not even the big overarching. Again, the Viltrumites are the biggest overarching plot, and it's very clear at this point that they are. So why set up another big bad that you're eventually going to have to take out?
That also isn't even canon to the comic books. Satan isn't a canon. None of that Damien Darkblood stuff was canon to the comic books at all. That entire episode wasn't canon. We could have saved our friends who are actively dying on another planet. We don't even get a glimpse of what they're going through. And I think my biggest problem is my expectation for the rest of this season, we have 3 episodes left because we're only getting 8 and we just saw episode 5, is non-stop Viltrum massacre, fight, battle, what have you. That is my expectation. Yes, we're going to get some stuff where there's going to be slower moments and there's going to be the conversation with the resistance and grouping together. I'm not saying it's going to be all action, but it's going to be mostly action. If they randomly cut in out of nowhere an episode of Monster Girl and Rex getting saved, that would be kind of weird. But also, I don't want to wait a year and a half or a year to figure out what happened. Because I'm going to forget. I'm not going to forget, but it will be a year from now.
Yeah, and also I think the big thing with this season that I'm kind of struggling with, and again, I love Nolan, I love Alan, I love their storylines, and they're kind of building some with Oliver here that I kind of enjoy. And obviously Eve with the big plot twist is interesting. They really haven't done anything that interesting to hook me, with the exception of this plot line that we're in now, where it's, okay, we're going to go try to get you here to start the war, to fight against the Viltrumites, whatever. That's the only thing I'm interested in. So at the end of the season, when this plot line is resolved, or maybe it's a cliffhanger, I don't know. But if we go back at the end of the season and nothing's resolved from this, I'm going to have sat here and gone, great, where do we go now? I'm not interested in any of these stories. I'm going to struggle through that last episode just to watch whatever happens,
It's one of those things, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, but I feel like this has always been a thing with Invincible. They'll set up 1.5 million plot lines and then not resolve all of them in the same season and just leave dangling threads for later seasons, which isn't always a problem, but I feel like it is. Again, we still have 3 episodes left. We have no idea. Each episode's an hour. They have plenty of time, possibly, but they've already set up so many things that I'm expecting to be non-stop action, big things to happen, that you're not going to be able to wrap all of it up in this season. And so we're just going to have to wait another year to get 1 more episode on it or 2 more episodes.
Yeah.
Damien Darkblood thing, for instance. We're not seeing Damien Darkblood again until next season at all.
100%.
But then we only going to get 1 episode next season and then 1 episode the next season? Or is it going to be wrapped up 1 episode next season? Things like those dangling plot lines that are already not super interesting. Mark doesn't even know that Eve is pregnant yet. That's probably not even going to be found out at the earliest the end of the last episode because they're in space.
Yeah. And it's going to make me just kind of look back on the season and go, great, I'm glad we had a pretty okay season. you didn't do anything with the time there, so why did I watch this? What was the justification for the season if you weren't going to do anything? And I get it. If they're going comic book by comic book story, and if this what just happens to be the weakest comic book line of Invincible stories, fine. I get that. But it just seems like there are a lot of things happening and nothing's being resoluted. And previous seasons, yeah, they'll have that, but at least there's enough resolution in some of these seasons that it works. Like I know last season, and I talked about this, and it's not just because it's Aaron Paul. I love Aaron Paul. The Powerplex episode was phenomenal, and that was created from a previous plot line that happened in season 1 that just keeps spiraling out of control. So you could call it filler.
Yeah.
It's not really. It justifies a good question because it also justifies, again, the whole thing when we were looking at season 3 was, is Powerplex right? Like Invincible caused all this. Powerplex is obviously going about the wrong way of doing everything. Like he is being portrayed as a villain, but he has justified reasons for doing what he's doing. Everything that happened was a mark. And it sets up the rest of season 3. There's been nothing like that has justified this. It's just been setting up towards God knows what. Again, as long as these last few episodes are focusing on this plot line of fighting against Viltrumites and maybe they lose, fine. That's good enough for me. That'll actually make the season justified. But the first half, not so much because you didn't set up anything except that second episode, which kind of gets Nolan to the point where it's like, I need to go get my son so he can be a part of this, you know?
I'm gonna actually bring up an example. I have not seen The Boys season 4 yet. I'm still catching up in time for us to do our review next week of The Boys season 5 episode 1 and review it as it goes on. I've heard the main complaints of people from The Boys season 4 is that all of it felt like set up for season 5. That was like the biggest complaint I've heard, is that most of it was set up for season 5.
I'll tell you this much.
Might be doing the same thing. Is that a fair comparison?
It's kind of fair. There's a lot more of a build with season 4 because it clearly is building to the resolution that is season 5, and it ends on a pretty massive cliffhanger. But I wouldn't necessarily say that The Boys season 4 was bad. I still thoroughly enjoyed The Boys season 4. I actually thought that if I was ranking the seasons, which I know we don't really rank things in the podcast, but if I was ranking the seasons, I would still do 3, 4, 1, 2. Or 2, 1. Might be 2, 1. I don't know. 1 and 2 are kind of interchangeable for me, but I really enjoy season 3. Season 3, I think, is really good. Season 4 is not far off of season 3, but it definitely is a lot more of a build. You could say the same thing about Stranger Things season 4.
No, I hard disagree with you on that.
But you could. I know you disagree with me, but you very well could make that case about how, it's clear season 4 is a massive setup season to get us to season 5. It even ends on a big cliffhanger, which the rest of the show hadn't necessarily done. Like, you've ended with things open-ended, but you've never ended on a big cliffhanger as to, the Upside Down's just open. Where are we going with this?
That's fair. And I guess it's hard to make that comparison when we're talking about 2 completed seasons where we know where they end versus a season that is 3 episodes, 3 hours of content away from completing. So there could still be a lot of things. And I understand that it's probably an unfair comparison to a degree. But at the same time, like, I do agree with you. And that's why I brought up the examples of, like, it does feel like right now we're setting up more than we can complete this season, which is always a thing with Invincible. But I feel like I have a problem with it because it's always a thing with Invincible, and because it's just something that they just keep doing over and over and over again, where they introduce things that don't feel like they're going to give time to an interesting conclusion this season. And even if they give it an interesting conclusion next season, that's a year away. And why set it up not in episode 4 or episode 5 or episode 6, but like, the things we're talking about are literally episodes 1 and 3 that they set up of the pregnancy and the getting lost on the alien planet, and now we're waiting a year for those things.
Look, and again, these are conversations that are probably going to carry over into the next episode and the folling episode after that, because that's just how TV shows work when they're not coming to a finale, you know. So I guess wrapping up my thoughts about Invincible, I guess for this week in particular, good episode, had a lot of animation like problems. But again, if you were to like close your eyes, I'm not saying you need to for the entire episode, it still has some okay animation and some good things to look at. But if you were to close your eyes and just listen to this episode, it would be a very, very good, almost perfect episode. Like, it's that good as far as writing goes. Again, the Debbie Nolan scene is written very well. I love the Art Nolan scene. I don't think that's getting enough praise from people.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's the best scene in the whole episode by far.
Again, it just sets up Nolan's character so much better than, or so much more than what we already had. I like it. I like the fact that we get to spend this episode with Nolan on Earth and all that. And I didn't talk about this. I love at the very end, Cecil knew the entire time that Nolan was there, and it's just like them all like, oh, thank God he's leaving. Oh my God, like that was really good.
My favorite thing to come out of this Invincible episode is the entire internet. All they're talking about is the memes of when Mark gets back to Earth. Because obviously we know he's still alive and he's going to go back to Earth. The first thing he's going to do is rip Cecil's head off because, like, he lied to him about Conquest. And not a great... Mark's guts would probably disagree with that decision and think it was not a great one. That's all.
We said that after episode 1 when Conquest escaped. They were like, yeah, no, he's going to tear Cecil a new one. And
now he has even more of a reason to do so because he almost killed Oliver and actively ripped all of Mark's organs out, and some that probably weren't even Mark's organs.
Cecil has no defense there. He's literally going to sit there and go, oh, yeah, this is not going to end well for me. I can't wait for Donald to be the new Cecil next season. It's going to be great.
I hope they don't kill Cecil because Cecil is my favorite character in Invincible.
Oh, I agree. I love Cecil a lot.
But at the same time, I kind of worry for I don't know. I genuinely do not know if he dies, and I hope we don't find. I do not want to know.
I don't know either.
But if there was going to be any way to kill off Cecil, it ain't looking good for our brother in Christ over here. It ain't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Season 4 is, I would personally call it the weakest season so far. I think this is by far the best episode. I agree with you. I think episode 3 was really good, or episode 2 was really good. I think episode 3 was okay. That was the one with the dragon and all of that. I thought it was okay. Fine. We did have the aliens, which was interesting, but we're not even concluded on that yet. I think episode 1 was pretty good. I just think that other than this episode, for the most part, I walk away from the episodes as a collective being like, they were pretty good. Because they'll have some really high highs, like the Viltrumite stuff and the Alan stuff. And then they'll have some pretty low lows in that same episode. And so it kind of just evens out to be like, yeah, they're pretty good. This episode was the first time that, like, my only complaint is the animation, for the most part. Like, their story was great. Like you said, if you close your eyes and you listen to this episode, it's probably one of the best written episodes of the show. But I'm not reading a comic book. I'm watching an anime or an animated show. You need to be animated well. And if that consistently is a problem for Amazon, one of Amazon's biggest shows, in the same season that some of the best animation in the world is coming out of Japan with Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, things like that, I don't see an excuse. I really don't. This is a nearly $1 trillion company, and this is one of their biggest properties, and they don't give it the time of day. That's their fault. And anyone who defends them, I don't see why you're defending them. I simply don't. We need to hold the companies responsible. If you forgive this, I'm still going to watch it and probably love it, so I guess you can be seeing it as forgetting. I'm not going to boycott the show. But at the same time, if you go, oh, it's fine. No, it's not. It isn't. Definitively, it's not.
Let's
talk about something that is way better animated, though. Probably one of the best animated things to come out this year.
Yeah, from an animation perspective. Speaking of animation, let's talk Mario Galaxy. I'm not even gonna just give you a second to think about it. Go ahead, let you start. I do actually have collect thoughts about this, and I'm gonna start off. I'm just letting you know when I do talk about it. No, you'll start, but when I start off, I'm gonna talk about my negatives. They sound worse than they actually are. Not at all. Please go ahead.
Fair enough. Mario Galaxy is a really fun time. It really is. It is genuinely, start to finish, such a blast. There are cameos galore. It is so whimsical. It's joyful. The jokes are really funny for the most part. The animation is stunning. It is phenomenally animated. The soundtrack is amazing. All the references and cameos and callbacks are all great. My biggest complaint of the entire movie, I'll just get it out the way now. It is the literal only complaint I have about the movie, is why did they have to reveal Star Fox in advance? It sounds like a small thing, but come on, that was like the biggest reveal, and most of my theater seem to not know it because it's still got a big pop, but like, it's the same problem that Avengers Doomsday has of revealing that the X-Men are going to be in it. It takes the steam out of the sails, or that the wind out of the sails of that reveal that could have been way bigger of a pop. You don't need to do that. Literally, people were going to go see this movie either way. There were still fun surprises in there, and that's why it's my only negative, and it's a really small negative. But it is something I'm like, come on, don't reveal that stuff in advance. But for what the movie is, a start to finish roller coaster blast of a time, whimsy, joy, fun, comedy. I do think I do think that there's heart to this movie. I think that there's a lot of good story. I don't think it's blow your socks off phenomenal story, but there is a through line. There is like a consistent, we're going to save Princess Peach. And this movie actually feels more like a generic, stereotypical Mario game, like an original Mario game, than even the first movie did. Because the entire point of this movie is explore, go through different levels, go on different missions, take down bosses, and save the princess. That's like, to the core, what a Mario movie is. That's all we got out of it, and that's all I really wanted out of it. If you're going in expecting like the Mario Galaxy video game and you don't walk away getting that, I think that's a fair complaint, but at the same time, I don't have that big of an attachment to Mario Galaxy, so I didn't really care. I walked in, walked out, big smile on my face. Little mini review on here to tack on to the end. Little girl found the movie scary. I was walking out of the theater, and a dad asked his daughter, like, what did you think of the movie? And she was like, it was scary. And the dad was like, really? You found it scary? But like, what about the not scary parts? And she was like, but it was scary. And the dad went, but like, what about Princess Rosalina? Did you like Princess Rosalina? She's like, no, I really like Princess Rosalina. She was really good. And he's like, what about this? Oh, it was really good. So that's the mini review from the 3-year-old walking out of the theater, which is like the target audience for this movie. But like, yeah, overall, great time. Go watch this movie. It's a blast.
Yeah, I'll start off by saying this. I had a very fun time with this movie. There's a lot of fun to be had. The animation quality is stellar. The action sequences are great. I loved everything they did with Bowser Jr. as far as like the fight scenes and the choreography. Really well done. I thought it was all very creative. I'm going to put my thinking hat on for a second because I need to explain my thought process when I saw this movie the first time, and I'll explain what my friend kind of had to tell me to remind me. When I walked into this movie, I expected to have fun with it, but not really gain much out of it. And I did, but I also thought about it way too much because when you really look at this movie, the plot great straight. This is the most perfect Mario plot for a film that it's perfect. I completely agree with that. That being said, the writing is hot garbage. There are some really funny jokes and some really funny character moments, but when you talk about the emotional aspect, I didn't feel a single thing. That's the only complaint I will say that will probably stick to the whole thing is like not a single emotional thing. I didn't feel for anything. I didn't like the setup for what they did with Peach and Mario. I thought it was very forced, and they didn't really logically conclude that in a way that I thought was very beneficial because the whole thing was building like, Mario, you got to say something to her. And you don't even have a dialogue about that. Like, here's the thing. At the very end, if you're going to do what you did, which is her reassure him, that's great. Then have a dialogue about that. Don't just do it. I actually told my friend, and this one I still kind of stand by. I wish that this film didn't have a single thing of dialogue, which is funny because I love Jack Black and I love Benny Safdie in this. I wish this thing didn't have a single thing of dialogue, and I wish you could just watch this as an animated thing from start to finish, because it would have gotten the same thing across. You would have had a lot of fun with great action scenes. You could have gotten the emotion based off the characters as opposed to because with what emotion you had. Because honestly, the dialogue kind of ruined a lot of the emotion with it. I thought Yoshi was a great addition. He didn't really do much to the plot beyond kind of be there and be like a fan service character that's just kind of there, similar to Star Fox. But by God, if he wasn't my favorite part of this movie, because Yoshi is the best part of this whole thing. He had a lot of funny moments. I was dying laughing whenever, I don't know what song it is, but the stupid rap song starts playing and Yoshi's walking through different parts of town. You're like, what the heck? Why is he on Earth? It's the funniest thing to me. Again, there's a lot of fun to be had with this movie. And again, my critical hat thinking wants me to start off by saying the writing's not good. The story is just full of conveniences. And then my friend had to remind me, first off, did the first movie do any of that? And I go, I mean, not really. It had a little more emotion, but not really. He goes, then why would you expect anything different from the sequel? I go, I guess that's fair. So I can't hold it against it. And that's when I took my hat off and I realized, no, I just need to have fun with this because this film it's not an Oscar award winning thing. It's never going to be. But as far as like a straightforward Mario film goes, this is as perfect as it could be. Because again, the plot itself is very Mario. We have one objective. Let's go save Princess Rosalind. Rosalind? How do you actually say
Rosalina.
it? Rosalina, whatever. I don't know the characters all that well. Star Fox makes an appearance. It's a lot of fun. The jokes actually are very humorous. Like I liked a lot of what they did. I was actually belly laughing at various points because I thought it was that funny. But as far as like a film goes, I would still prefer to watch Hoppers because at least with Hoppers, I felt an emotional core, a resonance, or something that I can actually take away from that film that makes me want to go back to it. Similar to the first Mario movie, this film, I know I'm raving on, but I'm trying to explain my thought process with it. It's not saying I hated it. I enjoyed my time, but like, it's not a film I'm ever going to rewatch because there's nothing of substance here that makes me want to rewatch it beyond Jack Black and Betty Safdie having some really funny scenes and some things that I can just pull up on YouTube with Yoshi. If any of what I, said did make any sense, which it probably didn't, I had a fun time with this movie. Let's leave it at that. We can start with whatever.
See, your biggest thing that I like made a face at and was like, I think that's like the most stupid, ludicrous take in the world is you were like, you don't think this movie should have dialogue, but then immediately admitted that there were a lot of funny jokes in the movie.
Yeah, I was trying to.
I understand what you were going for, and I
agree.
agree.
You know what I was trying to say.
The writing isn't blow your socks off amazing. It's a fucking Mario movie. It's for kids. Now, I will say, saying it's for kids isn't necessarily a valid excuse to write off writing all the time. I mean, Hoppers is still my favorite movie of the year. It's still the best animated movie of the year by far. It might not be as fun and whimsical, but it has a good heart, a good story, an educational story, an important story to it. Absolutely. But Mario was never going to be a tale of climate change or anything of the sort. It was simply always just going to be a roller coaster because that's what a Mario game is. Again, I think that this is a perfect Mario movie. I don't think you can do a Mario movie better. It is literally an adventure to save a princess, and you're exploring the world, and you're going on adventures. There's literally boss battles in this movie. You're defeating underlings. It's just so much fun. Yes.
May I say this one thing?
Yes.
I agree with you.
This is your podcast as well.
I don't think that you can do a Mario movie better, except the first Mario movie that they did. I do think this one is worse, but
really?
it's for the thing that you said. You said that there was an emotional part of this movie. I actually kind of want you to explain to me what you thought was emotional because I found none of this emotional. I didn't think that there was any single thing emotional. I saw a lot of setup for things to be emotional, but they didn't give me any reason to care about it. The first movie at least has something because the whole journey of Mario getting to the Mushroom Kingdom and all that. Yeah, again, I have a lot of problems with the first movie that I do this one. It's all kind of the same thing, and I had fun with it. But I like the idea that Mario's trying to prove to his father that, he can be something more. I don't remember what the emotional core of it was, but it was something to do with his father and being like, I'm trying to prove to you that I can be something of importance or whatever. I don't fully know what it is. And he does that by the end of the film. And you see that in the reaction of his father. That's an emotional core and emotional value that you get. They do a lot with, so let's be honest, Donkey Kong missing from this film. I was really sad about that because I love myself some DK.
I mean, that's fair,
I
but at the
love
same
Seth
time, we
Rogen's
had
Donkey Kong.
so many characters
No,
in
no,
this
that's
movie,
why I'm
and
okay with it.
like,
I felt Seth Rogen's presence missing from this film because he was also such a big part of that first movie,
yeah.
especially when they're inside at what is technically the lowest point of the movie when they're trapped wherever they're trapped. It's only Donkey Kong and Mario, and they have that conversation. That's an emotional conversation. They don't really have anything like that in this movie. They have like the fun joking things with like Mario and Luigi, like, oh Mario, you should probably go ask her out, whatever. They have things like that, but they also don't
So,
necessarily have an emotional resonance at the end with Rosalina or Peach. They kind of try to, but they don't really set it up all that interestingly. So it doesn't, like, I don't feel it. I'm just saying I didn't feel anything because I don't feel like they gave me anything. There could, I guess, could be, but they didn't do anything for me. So go ahead and explain to me what you thought was emotional here.
you're gonna hate me because it's stupid. Um, you're gonna be like, screw you, but it's true.
There's one thing you could say that I can actually change my mind on this because I just thought of it, but go ahead.
And it's not going to be, I'm not going to say that thing because I know that you're not going to care about what I'm about to say. I'm the biggest softie in the world. I am way too soft of a human being. um the little stars and wanting their mom to be saved and their whole existence and journey and them being captured and all of that and trying to break free and trying to save their mom, that was my emotional through line. Again, I knew for a fact that you were not going to give a shit because you aren't a big softie. You don't care about people and you're an asshole. But
I'm the person who overextends myself on the frequent basis because I care more about others than myself.
no,
No,
but like
I thought you were gonna say Bowser and Bowser Jr. because that was the only one that I just
so
thought of. I was like that has like a kind of an emotional resonance to it where you could get away with that.
So it does, and I do think that that is second place. Like that is the actual emotional through line. I agree. Like the star thing is more of a personal thing, just because I thought they were adorable and I actually like cared about them.
Sure, sure.
My biggest thing with the Bowser one and why I can see the emotion there and I understand it. It is a little difficult though, just because like this isn't what almost 2 hour movie, correct? I think it's an hour 50, something
Yeah,
like that, or is it 2 hours? Somewhere around there. It's a long
hour 30.
movie.
It's
Isn't
about
it only an
average.
hour 30?
It's about average. Let me hold on. Let me look.
Really?
Let me
Look
look.
that up, because now I'm curious. Because I know you have the Mario stuff pulled up. 'Cause I'm gonna save my points until I know the time, because I'm like pretty convinced this is like on the longer side of things.
Hour 38. So it's about an hour 30
Wow.
basically.
Okay, I really thought that this movie was longer. Because what I was gonna say is like this is a mile a minute movie. Like this is a non-stop, everything is happening all the time, non-stop movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems that children's movies and just animated, not, I shouldn't say animated, children's movies in general are going to have problems with is you can't have an emotional payoff moving a mile a minute. You can't. Emotion comes from living in the moment. It comes from breathing in it and feeling your emotion. The reason why none of the emotional payoff didn't hit wasn't because the setup was bad. It was because the payoff happened so quickly, you couldn't sit with it or process it or feel it. And that was
Sure.
kind of my thing with the Bowser thing, where I thought the setup was interesting, where they're like, we're going to redeem him. Mario actually is like, hey, you're not that bad. You sacrificed yourself for us. Funniest joke in the entire movie, by the way, no contest. Absolutely the miserable beetle. I laughed so hard. My entire theater found it hilarious. Like, that was by far the best joke where it was like, this miserable beetle will take you, and the beetle comes out, and he looks, in fact, so miserable. And every time he shows up on screen, looks so miserable. It was
Yes.
hilarious. But like, him trying to sacrifice himself was like setting up an emotional beat. And then he just immediately, like, he has the moment with his son that I think is probably the most emotional moment, where you're showing Bowser, like, being happy that he actually maybe wasn't as bad of a father as he thought he was. I thought that was pretty cute. But you're just moving past it so quickly that I might start to feel emotion, but that emotion is immediately quelled when the next scene is already halfway done, as I'm just now processing what you just did. And this movie is a perfect example of that conversation that they had with the Netflix executives, where it is you need to re-explain your plot every 45 minutes or every 30 minutes or every 15 minutes or whatever. They literally do that in this movie. Every time we talk to anyone, we need to save Rosalina, we need to save Rosalina, we need to save Rosalina, we need to save Rosalina. They never let you forget that what we're doing is saving Rosalina.
Well, but that's also because
And
she's barely in the movie, and I think that that's kind of like where, like, that is also a big crime, and why I feel like the emotional resonance also isn't there is because you don't spend any time except for the very beginning and the very end, in which she has, I think, like 2 lines.
yeah.
You have like little to no time with Rosalina. Also, why care about her character at all, except for the fact that she clearly has some sort of relationship with Peach. That's it.
Yeah, they really set her up to be a big main character in this. I mean, the first trailer was her. That was like the first trailer. It was like almost exclusively her. And that is the biggest thing she does in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like, actually, that is the biggest thing she does the entire movie, other than put her hand against Peaches. That's it. It is maybe 30 seconds additional on the scene that we saw in the trailer, and them putting their hands together. That is the only thing that Rosalina did. And it's sad because, like, Brie Larson sounds good. Like,
Yeah.
I know that the casting of these movies is always like shocking, and it's like, why is Chris Pratt playing Mario? I've never had a problem with the way that they sound, ever. I think the voice cast always does a really good job with these movies. Like, I will say, there's no way in hell Donald Glover's voice wasn't like heavily digitally altered,
Oh
because
yeah.
like that was really, that just sounded like Yoshi from the video games, which is really good, but also, no offense to Donald Glover, I highly doubt that every single Yoshi was him.
I mean, well, look, my voice sits in this register, right? This is how I talk normally. Yossi, Yossi. Like you can get there with falsetto, and yeah, you
I
might add a
guess.
little bit. You can get up there. I'm not saying it is him, especially for like the eating of the. I don't know how to make the sound effect though. Or whatever.
Oh
When he
yeah,
eats all the
no,
that
no,
clearly it's clearly not him. Um,
or at least heavily digitally altered him.
right.
I will say though, just to, since we're on Yoshi, agree. Yoshi is by far the highlight. I think second best character is Star Fox. Star Fox was a blast every time he was on screen. Um, I
Yeah.
loved his intro. That it was like a
That
completely
was good.
different animation style.
That was good. I enjoyed that. They're also, I think, clearly setting up a movie with him. They're
Well, no,
clearly,
I think they're setting up an NCU, a Nintendo Cinematic Universe, an
which is
NCU.
what I'm saying. Like they're clearly setting up
Yeah,
another thing with him to branch out and get more. I also
because
just
we
find it really
also
funny
saw
because,
other Nintendo characters. We saw the Pikmin in this movie. We saw a
yep,
few like
the stick figure that Luigi creates or whatever. I don't know exactly
yes,
what that is.
yes. Or God, I'm so bad with the Nintendo characters, but the robot is also a character.
Yes.
That was a funny joke. I thought that was
Well,
kind of funny.
and I want to point this out. And this is like nothing to complain about, but obviously Glenn Powell just joined this cast for this movie as Fox McCloud. IMDb ranks their actors based on how much they were paid, from what I understand. When it says top cast, at least I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And Glenn Powell as Fox McCloud is
The highest.
he's at the highest, and then it's Anna Taylor-Joy, then it's Chris Pratt.
I don't know how true the IMD ranking thing is in
I,
terms of payment. I will
I don't
say
know.
he sounded really good. He really did. I think he made a great Fox McCloud. I really think that like
Yeah, but of course, out of every actor on this planet, that's who they choose to play. Like that just makes perfect sense. I thought it'd been really funny if they chose Bradley Cooper.
I think the only funnier character than Glenn Powell would have been Tom Cruise. I think Tom Cruise voicing
Tom
Star
Cruise
Fox
would have been really
would have been
funny.
so funny just because Top Gun.
I think Glenn Powell makes sense. Like for this,
No, it
like
does. It absolutely does.
his character makes perfect sense for this. Um,
He's got the charisma. He's been a
yes.
pilot in a movie before. He's got the action. Like I think he made total sense to cast as
I mean,
Finn. I
yeah,
just wish I didn't know that in advance.
right. All of the uh, actors do a good job in this movie. Again, the thing that bogs it down for me is just the writing. And I'm trying not to just talk on that too much because what is there to say? I've made my piece on it. It's clear. Let's just talk about the fun things that matter. Like, for instance, again, Yoshi. Oh my God, Yoshi is so good in this movie.
Dude, I didn't touch on it originally, but like the montage of him going through the human world, so funny, so
I was dying
good.
laughing, and then
It was just
at the very end, Chris Pratt going, I didn't understand a word of that, and he's like, yeah, like you
yep.
get it.
That was. I think that God, like again, that's why like it is. I understand what you mean by saying the writing's bad, but I disagree because I think the story isn't top tier. I think the writing is really good because most of the writing in this movie is just jokes, and a lot of the jokes hit. Like there are so many funny jokes in this. Yes, not every single one of them hits, but that's literally my favorite one of my favorite or actually my favorite comedy from last year, The Naked Gun. Not every joke hit in The Naked Gun.
No,
Same thing with this movie, but there was still,
right.
I would say, more jokes that I found funny than jokes that I didn't find funny. And one of those was the line of dialogue where it was Yoshi giving the flashback. We, as the audience, see everything, and then we flash back, and Mario going, I guess we'll never know. And I was like, God, that's so funny. That's so funny.
Well, and Jack Black also does a fantastic job in this movie. I mean, he did a good job in the first movie. He's also a highlight here. I do think that I want to know like how much of this movie he improvised and they ended up adding into the animation, just because like there's no way that that's all written because some of it is so Jack Blacky when he like says things or does things. Like, there's no way that all of that was written from a script.
I have another complaint with this movie. They baited us. I thought we were about to get a Peaches Volume 2 in the when he's in the prison and he's just about to start singing and then Bowser Jr. comes in. Literally, I kid you not. I was sitting next to a group of grown women, like in their 40s or 50s. No offense if you're watching this. Maybe you were younger than that. But like a grown women next to me, they started singing Peaches very excitedly, getting ready for that to happen, and then it didn't happen, and like the entire theater was like, come on.
It was really good. Benny Safdie does a good job in this
Yeah,
film.
I thought he sounded really good.
I think he pairs well with Jack Black. I know that you don't typically record with people in the audio booth, but it almost sounds like they were together. But obviously, I don't think they were. Luigi, and again, it's a Mario adventure, so I can't get mad at it. I mean, Luigi's just kind of there again, just like he was
I
in
mean,
the
it's
first movie. That's
no
kind of his
offense.
character.
In it, in Luigi has his times to shine. You have Luigi's Mansion. You have Mario and Luigi. Like whenever a video game is titled Luigi or Mario and Luigi, they play relatively equal roles. In Mario video games, there are plenty of Mario video games where Luigi doesn't even show up. So like, other than maybe a secondary playable character. So like,
Yeah.
I get the complaint. Yeah, I wish like Luigi's a fan favorite. I love Luigi. He's hilarious. But like that's just unfortunately the nature of Luigi in the universe of Mario is if this movie was titled like Mario and Luigi Galaxy and he wasn't in it all that much, I'd have a problem. But like I didn't expect any more Luigi than we got.
But you know, like I said, the action sequences were really cool. They were really well done. All the animation was pretty beautiful with it. Um, I don't know, man. Like, I just can't say this enough. Walking out of this movie when I had like a critical hat thing on, I couldn't help but think to myself, Universal clearly rushed this movie, not from an animation standpoint, but from a script standpoint, so they can get working on it right away. So much so that I actually walked out of this going, it's very clear that they had a story plot line, and then they wrote one draft of the script, and usually a script's supposed to go through like 8 rewrites or 8 drafts until it gets pretty much perfect. It's clear they only had like one and they just ran with it because Universal didn't give them enough time to properly think through everything. Which again, it led to an okay thing. With a film like this, it's fine because it's Mario and it's just like something simple. You can just go straight through forward. It's a fun time with some cameos and some cool ideas. But then you just lack on the emotional resonance of what your movie could give. And again, I shouldn't compare it, but when a film like Hoppers comes through, I mean, there's no comparison. Um,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
truthfully, there isn't.
Well, and I think the difficult part is I don't think this movie was rushed. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is what I've already mentioned, and that is just the general change in the way that people view movie making. And it's the TikTokification, it is the lack of paying attention to a movie, and just general lack of moviegoers going to the movies is
Mhm.
people want things fast, they want things now, they need things explained to them 15 million times. And it's sad because I mentioned that group of ladies that was sitting next to me and they were very into the movie. I saw one of them pull their phone out during the movie. I don't know why. I don't know what they were looking up. I have never, ever, for any reason, pulled my phone out during a movie, even when I was bored or tired of something or anything. I've never pulled my phone out of my pocket. If I'm going to, my thing is, if I am bored enough to pull my phone out of my pocket, I'm walking out of the theater because clearly I don't care about the movie enough. And I think that's just a problem. And that kind of goes into, I know you want to say something, but I'm going to transition into a little mini rant and then get back to you because this is a family movie. I want as many people to go see this movie as possible, especially kids and families and things like that. I do just want to remind people with young children, yes, this movie is for them. This is a kids movie. Please take your kids to the movie. However, if you're going to take your kids to the movie, understand you are not the only person in the theater, and theater etiquette is very important. There was people in the theater who weren't even children that were just actively repeating lines of dialogue at full volume or louder than the movie while the movie was happening. Don't do that. Please, please don't do that. Please have some decency when it comes to going to see movies. You are around other people who are also experiencing this for the first time, who want to have fun with this movie and not listen to you yap during the movie. Or I'm listening to the characters say the lines of dialogue, not random Joe Schmo who I've never met before repeat the lines of dialogue that I just heard on screen. Or a kid shouting at the top of their lungs multiple times during the movie. Again, take your kids to the movies, but teach them how to watch a movie properly, please. Like, I get it's a kids movie, but Mario's been around for 40 years. Mario has been around for almost double the length that I've been alive. This is just as much as for people who have grown up on Nintendo and love Nintendo and adults as it is for kids, because adults have had Mario in their lives longer than these kids have been alive.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you wanted to say something, but
No, it doesn't even have.
that my
Doesn't even have.
theater experience kind of was not the best theater experience in the world. Admittedly, it didn't change my enjoyment of the movie, but it did kind of tick me off.
It doesn't have anything to do with the movie. I was just going to talk about the one time I've ever pulled out my phone during a movie, and it was 2022. Avatar: The Way of Water. And there's a reason why, and mine is completely valid. First off, we were the only ones in the theater. It was just me and my friends, so it was okay. Nobody's really around us that's going to be bothered by it. Secondly, it was a double show day, so I'd already performed 2 shows that day, and we saw the showing online, what started at 12:30 at night. It is a 3.5-hour movie. We
I don't
didn't
know why you
start the
did that to
movie
yourself.
until 1 o'clock because of commercials. And then we sat there. I pulled out my phone because my friend leaned over to me because we're like, oh, the movie's probably wrapping up. It's pretty much over, right? Like, they've pretty much wrapped up in a conclusion. Like, we've got to be almost through this movie. And we open our phones, 1:44. Oh, we were all sitting there like, this was a horrible idea. Whoever thought to do this is just dumb. Why did we do this?
You are dumb, and it is your fault.
We didn't walk out of that movie till like 4 a.m, meaning I didn't get home till like 4:30, meaning I didn't fall asleep till like 5 a.m. Then I had to get up the next day and perform another show. That is the only time I've ever had to pull my phone out during a movie because I was literally keeping track of like, can I? Oh my god, is it almost over? This is good, but I can't do it. I just can't. It's too long.
That's your own fault, brother. I got no sympathies. I don't know
But
why you would do
yes,
that to yourself.
all in all, fun time with Mario. No real complaints beyond the critical thinking. But in my personal opinion, if you're going to take your kids to see something, go see Hoppers, please.
I would agree with that.
I would say go see Hoppers instead, just because there's a lot more you can gain from it rather than this movie.
I don't think there's any reason not to see Mario. Like, I would ask, like, should I see Mario? Was it good? Absolutely. I think it was a blast. I think it was a super fun time. And I think kids and adults will enjoy this. I've seen people in the Escape Pod Discord that have talked about how this is their favorite movie of the year just because of Nintendo nostalgia and how fun it is. And I have no problem with that. But if you want a really good story or a heart or something to care about other than nostalgia, I would say Hoppers is better, but I don't think that's like a huge dog on the Mario movie. And clearly they're setting up another one. We saw Daisy at the end of this movie. Did you stay for both post-credit scenes? Okay, yes. So we had the funny post-credit scene where Bowser Jr. was picking up the bones right at the end. That was the post-credit scene, right? That was the first one?
First one was that, yeah.
Yeah, and then we had the second post-credit scene, which was the introduction of Daisy. And
no, I'm sorry. The first post-credit scene was Fox McCloud.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It was Fox leaving. You're absolutely right. I think the Bowser thing was still in that. Oh no, it wasn't. That was the rebuilding of the castle. That was.
It was the end of the movie.
But yeah, the first post-credit scene was Fox, and the second one was Daisy. Clearly, they're setting up another movie. This movie's probably going to be one of the higher-grossing movies of the year, being that the first one grossed over $1 billion. I don't know if this one's going to hit $1 billion just based off of how theaters in general have been doing this year. I hope it does, but Project Hail Mary I don't think has cracked even $500 million yet. And that's like everyone's favorite movie of the decade, apparently.
Right.
Right now, it hasn't even cracked 400 million. It's currently sitting at 390 million. Super Mario Galaxy is sitting at 107 million, and we're not even done with the weekend yet. So that movie is going to be one of the highest grossing movies.
Right.
Which isn't a surprise. It's a family movie. Family movies always do better. That's why Zootopia was top 3 of last year.
Anyway.
But yeah, overall, good time.
Good time. Nothing
would recommend if you're a Mario fan or you have kids or you just want to have a fun time. If you're looking for anything other than that, go see Hoppers or another movie.
Right. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Next week, no movies, actually. As of now, I need to double check the AMC app to double check that I'm not forgetting about any movies. But as of right now, I don't think there are any movie releases. However, we'll have Darth Maul Shadow Lord, we'll have Invincible, and we'll have The Boys Season 5. So we'll have 3 different TV shows, all to varying degrees of length and conversation that we will be able to talk about. Maybe there will be a movie. Again, I double-checked beforehand, and I didn't see anything. I am seeing a movie, actually, later today that maybe I'll talk about a little bit. It's a horror movie called The Yeti. It's an early screener. Not like I didn't get invited to an early screener. We have no clout to do that. It's just an early screener through AMC. I think it's the Thrills and Chills thing. But yeah, that's it for next week. It's been a very interesting that these are the 2 movies that came out this week. The drama, the gun control, school shooting, dark comedy, and the Mario movie.
Yeah, it could not have been 2 more differing films. I will say that. Could not have been 2 more differing films.
Literally.
But it sounds like we got a plan for next week. We'll discuss that more off the podcast. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, if you like what you saw, give us a like, give us a follow. You can find us on all streaming platforms, YouTube, Amazon Podcast, Apple Podcast, you name it, we're on it under @NerdyNimrods. You can also find us on all social media platforms, also under @NerdyNimrods. Brandon likes to post a lot of anime content and various other things on that, and I'll chime in every now and again with some fun things. Go check it out. It's a good time. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening, and as always, stay nerdy.